Afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to join the Global Sustainable Development Summit 2022. And many thanks to my colleague, Santoji, for the kind invitation. I'm going to share with you a brief presentation about the approaches to green resilience and smart urban development. The presentation will focus on how to build scenarios and how to make it very tangible and clear for everyone. The end of business as usual, as we all know, that in the movie world, for people who like and fans with dramatic movies, we can see that the war movies ends up with the sci-fi weapons all over the world, and it usually it's not imaginary weapons, but it is already in the laboratories. Why? Because it is huge in the global rating. Nonetheless, and on the other hand, when it comes to movies linked to climate change, it's usually desperate with solutions that can end with the happy end of the movies, because it is usually ends with the earth flush itself and clean it's back to the normal situation. In the New Year Eve 2020, by December 31 December 2019, it was clear that number of challenges all over the world, like poverty, food security, economic globalization and decentralization, and the deglobalization, regional conflict, and disease. About over 10 years ago, there was over 1 trillion people risk in hunger and couldn't be able to find their 3 meals a day. After 10 years from that, and the unlikely any other global human crisis, COVID-19 changed the people's lives. It's not only attacking people and core societies, it leads to record a global recession as we witness at the moment. At least 700 million suffers from extreme poverty. Billion of people will be negatively affected, and already the recession is on its way affecting everyone. Over 1.3 billion was lack of basic needs. According to the USQA, the Middle East and North African region will lose over 45 billion in the GDP. Another challenge, there is a huge demographic transitions all over the world with fast urbanization, climate change, and shift of global economy. If we add to this the swift technology changes and the change of the structure of the global trading and lack of the value chains. On the other end, there is a number of international and regional huge and mega projects like the China Belt and Road initiatives. For instance, the economic zones all over the world, like one in Congo, in Oman, the King Abdullah economic cities, the NEOM, huge mega projects. We presume that the SDGs and Sustainable Development Goals can have a good solution over this. Not it is as scientific solutions, but the methodology that it takes. According to the Addis Ababa agenda framework, SDGs can help, particularly for private sectors, to play a central role in the environmental conservation, innovations, technologies, and the global to reach business that overcome these challenges. The SDGs, according to the flagship project and the reports, show that there is a significant role can be played And companies can invent new and green innovative solutions to transform this. According to this project and the report, the achieving the SDGs within the 2030 could create over 380 million jobs and unlock 12 trillion US dollar for business opportunities in the next 10 years. It's clear that the world today invests over 2.5 trillion US dollar in the infrastructure, while the actual need is around 3.3 trillion US dollar, according to to match with the current growth. Therefore, the reframing and the communications and providing a paradigm shifting in the mindset is bedrock of this change. The international trade as an engine for the development and the development cooperations, since science, technology, innovative, and capacity building is the main role for private sector in this global trading. I presume that there is main three approaches here: the financing plan, the role and the regulations, and the planning design when it comes to the urban development, the natural biodiversity design, the local smart solution, the localization of the KPIs, the transportation, waste water management, and the renewable energies could play a huge role on this to provide a green, eco-cities, smart, and sustainable urban development. Therefore, in a world full of uncertainty, we need to stand for a goal that will matter above all else. I presume that their strategic crisis action plan need to be taken in consideration and change the business as usual and adopt a new methodology. Most of companies will be very vulnerable to the economic fallout of extend public and employees isolation measures. We need to take two main actions here: plan ahead theme and multiple time horizon. The first action is launch a plan for a plan ahead team to get ahead of the next stage. The second stage is to direct that team to work across the multiple horizons using 5 frames. The first frame is to understand and get a realistic view about the starting position. And number 2 is to develop scenarios for a multiple version of our future that we can determine to establish a clear, broad directions of travel for our companies and to determine the strategic moves and to set the treasure points to drive the organization on the actual time. We can cascade this and break it down to a clear actions. So to gain the realistic view of this starting position, we need to do 3 actions here: financial assumption, ongoing initiatives, and big strategic points. Step number 2 is to develop a scenarios for multiple vision of the future. It is not about a detailed one, but to make sure that we have a clear vision about the expected future, and to establish a position for the direction that we need to take. It is not to develop a detailed plan, rather to figure out the broad direction that we need. The action number 4 is to determine the action and strategic moves that we need to take across different scenarios. These scenarios need to be strategic according to the portfolio that we undertake. Like even if ever more isn't a winner on its own. Step number 5 is to set the trigger point where we can activate these scenarios. It is not about starting the perfect plan, but get the fastest improve and make sure that we are moving according to the change of the world. I am going to just to give a quick feedback about the KPIs. How can it take us all over this? Starting by the conceptual design for the identification of our plan and make sure that KPIs, key performance indicators, matching with our localization, and to get the prototyping of each step of this and experimenting this according to the utility design that we have. Then end of the implementation, we're reflecting and launching the KPIs. Why KPIs? Indeed, because it simply can increase the overall team and the overall all over the company, the organization, or the city planning, etc. By creating a predictable path and expectations need, prioritize and focus areas, and they create a benchmark that we can follow up accordingly to reward for super performance. And that will take us to how to create this KPIs. Make sure the definitions for all parties and stakeholders and our employees clear, and the language discourse is clear to everyone. And that will help to make right decisions and quantifiable KPIs, frequent measures. Set the KPIs at the starting of the project, at the starting of the city planning, and make sure that the KPIs align with the objectives that we have according to the future that we determined. To have a full team be part of the planning process and create, monitor, tweak KPIs. To replace a parameter that we will need to use over the time, to make sure that KPIs factors allow a certain level of forecasting and should remain set over sustainable period of time, and set a routine calendar that we can follow up accordingly to the data, and to generate a dashboard where easy to capture our output and outcomes, and to give the team chance to improve it over time. I'm going to stop here and would like to thank you one more time for the kind invitation, and over and out from my side. Thank you.